Hey there for Dragonfly and Me friends. Welcome to another episode of Jean in the Kitchen for Dragonflies and Me. If this is your first time here, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Jean Roman and you are visiting my YouTube channel, or you may be seeing me at my blog right now at fordragonfliesandme.com or YouTube. So I do a lot of cooking demonstrations as well as gardening because I feel that they go hand in hand. Cooking and gardening just are two peas in a pod, no pun intended. But today I am creating my very, very much loved freezer strawberry jam. You can do cooked strawberry jam or freezer strawberry jam. My family tends to like the freezer strawberry jam better. It tastes more fresh, to be honest. And sometimes, like even like when you are canning or freezing corn or green beans or peas, there is a different texture because when you're freezing things, you are basically steaming them and par cooking them, par boiling them. And sometimes you don't even necessarily need to submerge them in water, which when you're using vegetables, it immediately starts to take out any nutritional value. So some people prefer to freeze as opposed to can. I do both, depending on what it is. So strawberry jam is definitely a freezer recipe, but my peach pineapple marmalade is a can. So I do use my water bather for that. But yes, I am here in Michigan and we do not have Michigan strawberries yet, but I didn't want to wait until those come to do this video. So I did purchase some strawberries from the grocery store to make this recipe, but I am obviously going to do the bulk of my strawberry jam from Michigan strawberries from the farmer's market. I will be teaching that class in June at the Farmington Farmers Market, and I believe I will be at a couple other locations. I will also be doing a strawberry jam recipe at Goldner Walsh Garden and Home. And you can see both of those classes at my blog, at my website at fordragonfliesandme.com. So be sure to check that out. Again, if you're new here, what I generally do here at my cooking channel, my YouTube channel, is I prepare the dish of what I'm cooking here. I show you the how to, but then I do direct you over to my website at fordragonfliesandme.com for the complete list of ingredients as well as the complete directions. And I do give also like a beautiful photo essay of it, I guess to say. But freezer strawberry jam, what makes it set up or get firm is a product called pectin. And if you have made jam in the past, you may be familiar with Sure-Gel. No affiliate marketing here. This is just what I use. You can also buy just general pectin. And if you want to make large batches of it, you can buy it in bulk. It's just pectin is what you want to look for. If, again, you're new here, I am the author of a cookbook called Lovingly Seasoned Eats and Treats. And if you already have this cookbook, you can find a recipe that I've used many times on page 425, strawberry freezer jam. Lots of other great canning recipes in here. This was a cookbook I wrote with a friend during my Mennonite days at a Mennonite church. While I was there over 15 years. So this cookbook has almost 1,000 recipes, 100 of them mine personally. And it can be purchased on my blog, my website at fordragonfliesandme.com in a soft cover edition, spiral bound, almost 500 pages. Again, 1,000 recipes, 100 of my own. And it has an incredible canning section. So if you are looking to learn how to can, there are tutorials in here. There's how to, there are measuring equivalents. This is an incredible guide for the newbie or the experienced canner. And there's over 100 canning recipes for freezing and canning in this book. So Lovingly Seasoned Eats and Treats at my blog fordragonfliesandme.com can be purchased in softcover edition as well as a downloadable PDF. If you would rather look at it first, you can purchase this book at the Dearborn shop in Dearborn, Michigan, or at Goldner Walsh Garden and Home, and more places coming soon. And I'll keep you guys posted on that. So anytime I teach a class, no matter where I am, I always have my cookbooks for sale too. So again, go to my blog and look at the Where's Jean page, and you'll see all of my classes, and that's continually being updated. But now let's get into the strawberry jam. So there's a few things I want to say. I do follow If I'm not making it in bulk, when I want to make a larger quantity, I use my cookbook recipe. But when I just want to make a small batch like what I'm showing here today, because I want to wait for my Michigan strawberries, I'm going to follow this recipe in the Sure Gel box. And it has both jelly recipes, cooked jam, and freezer jam recipes, because they all are different. I'm going to also do a video on cooked jam, which with a different product, and I will also make some grape jelly. So I will have upcoming videos on how to make all three of those things. So great step-by-step, easy tutorials. People don't realize how easy canning is. And I'll be teaching all kinds of classes on how to can my marinara sauce, make my pesto and freeze it throughout the summer months. But before we get going, the first thing I want to say is the recipe and the guidelines, the directions in this recipe are crucial to follow. Your jam will not set up if you skimp on the sugar, especially if you don't boil the pectin for the exact amount of time and stir it for the exact amount of time. It just won't set up. I have experienced it, unfortunately, in the past, getting disrupted or something by one of the children or a phone call or something. Ignore your phone, turn it off, and focus on this. It literally takes about 20 minutes. A long time, some of the longer areas of this recipe are the 3 minutes that you gotta let the strawberry set with the sugar, and then the stirring. But we're gonna do that. I did kind of start ahead of the game by cutting some of the strawberries. So what you need is exactly 1 quart or 4 cups of whole berries, which is going to crush down into 2 cups of mashed berries. You will need exactly 4 cups of sugar. I use organic sugar. It does not matter if you use regular cane sugar or organic sugar. I just prefer sugar, especially when you got to use 4 cups of it. So then I do have organic berries as well. I always say, I prefer organic stuff. I'm not trying to guilt anybody into doing anything different. Be happy with what you're doing. So what we're going to do is the first thing is, where's my knife? You need to remove the stem and if there's a green spot on the bottom, you want to cut that out. So just using a paring knife, being careful, you want to kind of cut down into the berry like that. And you're just going to take that and discard the stem. This is a big berry. And so I'm actually going to cut it into about 6 pieces so that it mashes easier. So I am just at about 4 cups. I'm going to do one more nice red berry. So again, cutting that off. So there we go. I'm just at about 4 berries. And the other thing too is I made a batch before this and I had a little bit extra. This is how much extra I had. I did not use it. I will do this. I'll put a little sugar in it and put it on some ice cream or something. I cannot stress to you enough how important it is to measure accurately when you're using pectin and certain other ingredients. But today we're focusing on pectin. So I'm going to discard those. And then I have another dish and you could probably use like one of those submersible blenders. I've used that in the past. I'm just going to use a potato masher. A submersible blender is probably a little faster. So if you have that, you can do that. So I'm going to dump my berries, my 4 cups of measured, cut, cleaned, and destemmed berries into a bowl. And I'm going to start mashing these. So I have always really enjoyed making different kinds of jams. If you followed me over the years, during my Mennonite days, I always canned. During those years, I would probably, and you got to remember I had 6 kids, but even when I only had the 4 at the home before the 2 youngest were born, I love to can. I canned everything from my own chocolate syrup. I have, which is in my cookbook, that recipe. And then I canned my own spaghetti sauce, my own marinara sauce as a base, again, in my cookbook. And I will be teaching my marinara class at a couple of my locations this summer. Again, you can find that at Where's Jean at my blog For Dragonflies and Me. And I have my own barbecue sauce, a smoky and a sweet and sour. So you can just about anything. The only thing I couldn't can, and believe me, I tried to figure out a way, was my own mushrooms. But you can dry mushrooms and dehydrate them. But it's because they need a really high pressure canning that is not safe. They don't have any type of home canning method for that. So mashing your strawberries, mashing your fruit, which is a jam. So you may not know this, but there is marmalade, there is jam, there's jelly, and there's preserves, and they are all a little bit different. Jam is what I'm making today, and jam has chunks of fruit in it. Jelly, which I make my grape jelly, has no chunks, and it's actually steamed. So I will take my grapes, destem them, and put them in a steamer and take the juice. So there'll be just juice. So jelly, when you purchase jelly, has no chunks of fruit. Marmalade generally has some kind of citrus in it. So it will have lemon or orange. And I make, oh my gosh, it's my favorite. It's a peach pineapple marmalade, and I also make an orange pineapple marmalade. And I love pineapple. Anything with pineapple in it is going to be a win. So, okay, my family likes their strawberry jam a little chunkier, and that's another thing you need to determine when you're making your strawberry jam. How chunky do you want it to be? Do you want it to be like really pureed? The more chunky it is, it does set up better. And like I said, I already made a batch. I'm going to show you guys that. So I am going to call this one done. So there we go. Put that in the sink. So this is what it looks like. So you can kind of see it's kind of runny and chunky. Super good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my measuring cup, which is, oh my God, where did I just put my measuring cup? I literally just had it. Oh, boy, friends. Oh, right beside me. Anyways, so now, again, like I said, measuring this out is crucial for the pectin to set up appropriately. So I am going to very accurately use another measuring cup, and I'm going to scoop out exactly 2 cups. I'm going to use a 1 cup measure, and I'm going to make sure that's level, and I'm going to pour it in my cup. And then I'm going to take another 1 cup, and I'm looking at that, and that's exactly 1 cup in there. That's a little shy, so I'm going to add a tad bit more. And there we go. So kind of pounce it down. Going to make sure it is exactly 2 cups. So there's the 2 cup measure, friends. Okay, so now I have a little bit of berries left. You'll see. I'm going to pour that into here. And then I am going to set this aside. And then I'm actually going to rinse this out. I do not want anything extra. Okay, and then I am going to dry this so there's no liquid. If you do any rinsing with your measuring utensils or your bowls and there's water in it, get rid of it. Dry it out. Make sure it's thoroughly dry. Okay. Does anybody recognize this bowl? If you're an antique collector, you may remember this is actually a Pyrex, or not, I'm sorry. It's a bowl that used to be with a mixer, and I believe I can't think of the brand name right now, but this is what mixers used to come with, is this white bowl, and I picked this up at an antique shop and I love it. Usually sits up on top of my shelf. Okay, so I'm going to put this 2 cups of strawberry, and I'm going to, using a spatula, put it all into there. Okay, so I'm done with that. I have already pre-measured out exactly 4 cups of sugar. So now I'm going to pour my sugar in. There. And I'm keeping my recipe with me just so I can double check. I do not want to mess up any steps. So I'm going to stir this in. As you can see, it's a lot of sugar. I know, friends. You're thinking 2 cups of berries to 4 cups of sugar. Well, that's why strawberry jam tastes so good, friends. It is, strawberries alone are kind of bitter. I mean, yeah, I mean, they're delicious, to eat a fresh strawberry. But to try to make a preserve, you need the sugar, and that also is what makes the pectin set up. So I'm going to stir this, and of course it's going to be granular. Once you add the pectin, you're going to stir it for 3 minutes, and then that is what is going to help dissolve the sugar. Maybe it's still a little bit grainy after that, but that's when it will dissolve more as it sets. So there we go. So now I'm going to set a timer. Again, crucial for timing, 10 minutes. Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes.
10 minutes, starting now.
Alexa, set a timer for 3 minutes. So that 3-minute timer is when I'm going to stir this. It is not as crucial to keep stirring. I'm going to stir it 2 times during the setup process. So I'm going to rinse off my spatula again, because now I'm going to cook my pectin. So I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to bring this over a little bit more, and then I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about all my canning supplies, because it's canning season, friends, canning and freezing. This is my time of year. Okay. So again, following the directions exactly is crucial with this step. You are going to use 3/4 cups of water, cold water, and pour that into your saucepan. And then I am going to open up a box of my Sure Gel. Don't need these, I already have one. And actually in one of my canning, another cookbook, I used to have it in this one. I just take this in because this is like the key. So, okay, so on high heat, I'm going to turn this on, and leaving that on high heat, I'm going to add my pectin. It may be a little bit lumpy, not a big deal. You're going to be stirring this, and I am going to stir this nonstop. So I'm going to be talking to you for a minute. And so this is got to be stirred constantly so it does not scorch, because 3/4 cup of a water is not a lot, especially cooking on high heat. Once this starts to come to a rolling boil, I'm going to stir it again constantly for 1 minute, at which time that should have been setting for about 10 minutes. And then I'm going to stir that in, and I'm going to stir the pectin into the jam for 3 minutes. And again, the heat of the pectin is going to help dissolve the sugar granules and the stirring action as well. So what is your favorite jam? Tell me in the comments what your favorite jam is. If you have 1 or 2 or 3, strawberry jam is absolutely one of our in the top 5. But for me, I love marmalade, and so I love an orange pineapple or even just an orange marmalade. So those are definitely jams and jellies and marmalades that I make. It kind of just depends on what I'm using. So this is already coming to a boil. And now I'm going to set my timer. Alexa, set a 1-minute timer. Okay. So I'm going to stir that up a little bit. My timer's about to go off. And so what I have over here is my water bather. And I used to have one that was a huge one. And then I have some jars and freezer containers. So it kind of depends on what you want to use. Alexa, cancel timer. Okay, so I'm going to stir this up again. So I have about 30 seconds left on this. And I'm going to just keep heating this up. And so these are a few essential canning tools. This is a jar filler. This is a jar lifter. This one's old. I think I need to break down and buy a new one. But then you have, your half pint jars, your pint jars, and these. Alexa, cancel timer. And that was my pectin. So I am going to turn the heat off on that. Let that sit for a minute. And I'm going to stir this up again, letting it set. Push this over to the side just a tad. So some of your essential, I actually need to purchase a new pressure canner. So that is, and I'm going to actually have to buy a new steamer. When I left my farm, I was starting a new life, as many of you know, and it was just a different time, and I wasn't doing the type of canning and preserving that I had done in the past. And so now I'm going to be doing that. So this is I'm going to stir it for a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to add it into here. Okay. This little burner heated it up. I had done the first recipe on my my regular stove, and it did not boil as quickly. So I kind of got a few minutes now to where it's, like I said, it's very important to let your sugar set in the strawberry. And so, but I want to add my pectin in here soon as well. So I'm going to be done with that, and I'm going to now add my pectin. So, and this is a thickening agent. That's what pectin is. So you may be like, what is that and what does it do? So it thickens, and it's going to make my strawberry thicken. So now I'm going to put this back here, and now I'm going to stir this for 3 minutes. And again, it is going to activate, and it is going to help dissolve the sugar. So Alexa, set a timer for 3 minutes. This is when my arm starts to get sore, friends. So overall, to make, and this batch is going to make 4 cups of strawberry jam. And so I will put them in my containers. I like these plastic containers. I just get them at a local grocery store, and they're great for it. One thing when you're freezing, the key thing, no matter what you're freezing, any liquid, is you want to leave about an inch head space, which is, if you look at a jar, this is what we call the shoulder of the jar, and that's where you do not want to overfill, because it's going to allow for expansion when freezing starts to happen. So I will have a whole shelf of jam. I do can some jam. Like I said, my marmalades I can, so those actually go on the can shelf. And I don't have any can shelves here. So Dave and I just organized. I know I've been showing you guys everything we were doing in the yard, but we actually cleaned out the garage from our move here. And we had anticipated building shelves in the garage to put up all my totes, and so we took everything out, and Dave built my beautiful shelves. I'll show you guys that in January when I do my Organization 101 series. So they are beautiful. I'm so happy with that. And this is going to be about 1.5 minutes. So you're going to build up some muscles in this. So stirring that up. And it is so good. You can already kind of see it setting. It does look a little runny. Don't be afraid when you're doing this. You're like, oh no, that doesn't look like store-bought jam. And you'll also notice one other thing. It's not as red. And the reason for that is look at the ingredients. There's no red food coloring in here. And again, this is why I use organic, because if I want something homemade, I'm trying to eat as clean as possible. And so by using organic sugar and organic strawberries, it just makes me feel better. But again, I never try to guilt anybody into that. You do what you feel comfortable with. And so we got another 35 seconds, and then I'm going to start scooping these. I'm going to show you how I put it into a jar as well as into the freezer containers using the jar filler. This is an essential. If you're these 2 things right here, essentials to canning. You have to have that jar lifter to take a jar out of a water bath or a pressure cooker. You can't just lift them out. So that has a rubber coated end, and one of them is kind of breaking up. And that's why I do need to get another one. And a jar filler saves slop. So these fit right into either a wide mouth jar, which is more like this. Alexa, cancel timer. It's ready, friends. Yay! So excited. So I'm going to taste it real quick just to see. You might want to do this simply to see how granular, if you're still tasting grains of sugar. Yeah, and if you can bite them, and that's okay. Just stir it for a couple of minutes. It's going to thicken up, and that's okay. So I like to stir it for a little bit longer, but the sugar will dissolve as it sets too. So technically you can eat it right away, but if you want it to be, like jam consistency, I recommend putting it in the refrigerator, what you want to eat, like at least 1 container, for about 24 hours, and then using it. And so after this, we're making a big brunch here. And I'm going to make my homemade crepes, which is also in my cookbook, Lovingly Seasoned Eats and Treats. And I'm going to make my strawberry jam crepes and the brown sugar and butter. So there we go. I think that's good. So now, friends, I want all of that berry. There's no way I'm Tossing that away. Alexa, cancel timer. Okay, there we go. Put that into the sink so that it doesn't get soppy. And then I'm going to take my 1 cup measure, rinse it off. I'm going to dry it thoroughly so there's no water on it to mix into my perfectly prepared jam. So I'm not using pint jars. I have used pint jars in the past when I have, feeding 6 to 8 people. But I'm going to do the pint jar first, or this is, a half pint jar. And you can purchase canning jars at pretty much any grocery store, any big box store. So this is a 1 cup. I have my 1 cup measure, and I'm going to scoop that. And again, going to stop at the shoulder. So the shoulder in this type of jar is going to be the bottom line. So I don't need that anymore. And there it is. So again, you're going to see it's not bright red the way your store-bought strawberry jam is. And again, there's no food coloring. And do a little research on red food coloring and you won't want to use it either. So, and then also the riper your berries are. These were pretty ripe, but okay, so there. These are almost a 2 cup, but I'm going to do like about 1.5 cups in each one. And you can see it's still pretty runny, and that's totally normal. So when you're making this, don't, like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? But I will admit, I have had times where my jam didn't set up, and I thought, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? I followed the directions exactly to a T, and it didn't work out. So are you going to have a flop every now and then? I hate to say it, but yes, you are. And that is just part of it. So one more container here. So, but don't be dismayed. I mean, I have been canning for years and I still get a flop, And let me get my spatula. But friends, one thing I just want to say is you will be so happy with your homemade food. You will be so ecstatic when you pull out a jar from your canning shelf or a frozen treat out of your freezer, and I'm scraping every single thing out of this because it is all delicious. And but you will just be so amazed, especially if you've never done it, if you've never canned. It will be such an experience for you to enjoy homemade jams and sauces and whatnot. But that's it, friends. It's super easy, super fun. And so now I'm going to say goodbye. But first and foremost, I want to thank you all for joining me here today. I admonish you, please, to smash the subscribe button, smash the like button. I'm trying to build my following here so that YouTube will show my videos to more people. And if you're here watching me at my blog, be sure, down below is the ingredients. If you're here at YouTube, head on over to my blog at For Dragonflies and Me. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram. Lots of fun things on both those platforms. I have a podcast that I share here as well. If you don't have time to watch, you can always listen at Spotify, Apple, and everything else. But thank you. Canning, I just love to can and preserve. If you have any questions, send me a message on my blog, send me a message here, and I'll be happy to help. I have canned almost everything, from meat to soups to pie fillings, you name it, I've done it. And many of my recipes, again, are in my cookbook, Lovingly Seasoned Eats and Treats. So again, you can purchase this in a soft cover or a downloadable PDF. But as always, friends, key thing is to remember to eat fresh, shop local, and have a happy day. Thanks so much for being here and supporting me. I appreciate all of you, and enjoy your strawberry jam. Bye now.